Okay. Hari Om to all of you. Yeah, yeah, this is, I'm just continuing my quest on the true knowledge, and along with I started with the Atma Vishara with Sri Prabhuji, and then continued on the Gita study circle. Now I'm also joining this Vedanta group to ensure that I stay in this path as much as I can, and not uh, give any room for falling away from the truth and getting into the usual miseries and getting lost. So that's all I would say now. I think all the rest has got wiped out in the biodata.
Excellent. Okay.
Hari Om.
Hari Om. Welcome, welcome. Shubhaji, can we have your introduction, please?
Yes. Hari Om, everyone. I'm Shubha. I stay in SFP. That's how I got to know Vijayji. I started with Gita study class. Now I'm continuing with this Vedanta, which I wanted to know what our scriptures are. So that's how the interest started for me. As Saravanan said, it's a quest for me. I want to know what exactly is there in our scriptures and how good it is. So that's it from my side. Thank you.
Hari Om. Thank you, Shubhaji. Kamatji, can you please introduce yourself?
Hi, Hari Om, everybody. Yeah, my name is RV Kamath. I'm based out of Bombay. And yeah, recently I got to know about this group, and it's like what I would call it as a divine intervention, because I just got to know a friend and who introduced me to this group. And yes, I have been hearing, reading about Gita. Many of the things I do experience, but there are a lot of questions which I'm not able to answer, and be truthful to myself. And every time there are a lot of things that come in and becomes in a confused state. Yet theory is easy, it's very easy to understand, but when it comes to practice, you still need somebody's help to get an understanding. Hopefully this group will help me really revisit many of these questions and try to accept it. And this is merely an exercise in the sense, there's a study requirement that one has to remind oneself, yes, this is what the answer is, and you have to keep practicing it. Yes, thanks for giving me this opportunity also in inducting me to this group, and that will help me. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you, Kamatji. Sri Charanji, can you please introduce yourself?
Yes. Hello everyone, I'm Sri Charan, and I am doing my 4th year of engineering. One of the main reasons I joined this group was to have some kind of intellectual discussion on Vedanta, and especially this group is really fantastic because we have Vijayji as our head and Prabhuji as guiding force. I think I can know about the, I can participate into these discussions. I can make an inquiry into my true self. All the people here, they are very highly knowledgeable, and having a conversation with all of them is really helpful in the process of learning.
Welcome, Sri Charanji. Thank you. Padmaji, can you please introduce yourself?
Hari Om, everyone. I am Padma. I also started my journey with Vijayji through the Gita classes that we do. So it's been a year and a half, and we have finished almost learning all the shlokas. But the contemplation continues, I feel, and the learning also should continue. So that is where it landed me here for the Vedanta studies. So I'm looking forward to knowledge sharing with all of you, and it is going to be a wonderful experience knowing what your outlook about the same thing is. That's what is the thing, perspective, right? So I'm looking forward to knowing it. Thank you.
Excellent, Padma. Hari Om, welcome. Satyalata ji, can you please introduce yourself?
Hari Om Vijayji, Hari Om to all the Atmajatis here. So I'm Satyalata, that is just a name. and no other introduction required other than I being an Atma Jyoti. So I know Prabhuji since the last 6-7 years, and I know what difference he and his guidance, his words has made to me. So I just continue to stay in whatever he starts till the end of my life. So anything that he suggests and anything that he points out to, my duty is just to be there. That's all. So that's the reason I'm here, and I'm sure with the guidance of Vijayji, we all are going to really understand what our true self is, and because no other identity really matters. What we were, what we are, and what we will be is all the same. So, I mean, that one thing, if we can understand, I mean, if I can understand, I feel a lot more peaceful. So I just want to hold on to that one sentence, and that's the reason I'm here to learn Tattva Bodha. Hari Om.
Thank you, Lata ji. Welcome. Priya ji, can you please introduce yourself?
Yes, Vijay ji. My name is Priya. I started Gita learning in a year back. I just want now this is my first step into the journey of Vedanta. I am interested in this group and in the Prabhuji's and Vijayji's guidances. So with their guidances, I want to understand the Vedanta and truth and what is the external, superficial and Atma about those things. Hope the journey will answer all my answers and it helps to understand myself in a better way. Thank you, Ji.
Excellent. Thank you very much. So just to give some more insight, see, I started my journey with Prabhuji about 6 years back, and he has been a great influence in many ways, in not just in the spiritual clarity, but also in how to handle many of the day-to-day affairs of the world. Because at the end of the day, it is not just about recognition of the true self, but we also have to live in this world. How to live in this world. And that is where I'm greatly inspired by what he has chosen as the mantra or the main message for the Light of the Self Foundation. The name of the foundation under which all our activities are happening is the Light of the Self Foundation. And the motto is Atmano Mokshartam Jagaditayacha. So why should one recognize the self? Like many of you already stated, that is where the peace is. Ultimately, all that we're looking for in life is have to be happy, healthy, and peaceful, isn't it? That's all, all our quest with whatever other activities we are doing, that is what we want ultimately in life, to be happy, healthy, peaceful. How to be happy, healthy, peaceful? Like, birthdays happen, people come and wish you, happy birthday, happy birthday. But who has taught you how to be happy? Our marriages happen. People come and wish you, have a happy married life. Wonderful. 3 months, 4 months, 6 months, wonderful. And then the thing starts, right? How to be happy in life? That trick, that is the essence that nobody really teaches you. And that is what Light of the Self Foundation and the guidance of Prabhuji kind of masters is giving us. So Atmano Mokshartam. Then how do you live your life? If, let's say, if there is a fellow, who cares for everybody, doesn't discriminate, what would you call that fellow? God. Irrespective of your caste, creed, background, if he cares for everybody, you would call that fellow a God. So when you realize your true self, how do you live your life? Jagaditayecha. So this greatly inspired my involvement with Prabhuji and activities. So being part of, and it's a blessing. It's a true blessing to be part of these satsangs and to take these messages. And here, we're calling it a study circle. Study circle doesn't mean, there is somebody in the beginning and somebody at the end. Circle, what does a circle signify? A circle, all of us are points on the circle, and we are all equidistant from that center. So there is no one more or no one less. And it is for each one of us to learn from each other. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, each one has a unique experience of life and a unique perspective of life, and that can open doors to each other. So one of the great line I remember is, when one teaches, two learn. So it is not that, only one is teaching and the other one is just a listener. When one teaches, two learn. So each one of us in that sense is a student, and each one of us in that sense is a guru. So this is a Sammelana of the Gurus. Okay. So first of all, my pranams to all the Gurus here. So what is that we are going to be doing here? So there are various ways to come into this clarity. And our scriptures are great tools, I would say. A tool is something that you use for some purpose. Tool is not important, but the purpose is important. What is the purpose? Atmano mokshartham. So who am I truly? What is my connection to the rest of the world? What is the world, and where is this connection? So this is the most fundamental question through which, the deep sense of health, peace, prosperity, bliss, everything begins. So that is what we will be undertaking as a quest here. It's a quest, like a treasure hunt. All right. And for that purpose, we're using Tattva Bodha. Tattva Bodha is the beginning text in a structured Vedantic study. A text which gives us very simple and fundamental understanding. And then we will evolve from there. And even Bhagavad Gita is part of the Brahma Vidya scriptures. So usually, the big study begins with the Tattva Bodha and later graduates into Bhagavad Gita. But there is no worry if we have already begun with the Bhagavad Gita. That's also in a way a beginning text, especially for many of the learnings. In learning how to chant, in learning how to start contemplating. So therefore, in this session, we'll use two mantras. Our study will be guided by two mantras. And the first mantra, I heard it from my other master. I mean, though I may use other master and this master, it is not like there is some other guru and some other guru. Ultimately, all the gurus are one, but they appear in different forms. When Dattatreya was asked how many gurus you have, he indicated to 24 gurus, because from each one there is something to learn. But in each one of our life, there are some who leave a deeper mark. So like that, for me, my Acharya Vinay Vinekar has left a very deep and indelible mark. So it is through his teachings and grace that my outlook of life transformed. So he gave one mantra: truth, realize, and use. Why at all should we learn any of these? See, in life, when you talk to your friend, what do you like to hear from your friend? Truth or lies? Truth. Why? Truth sets you in freedom, isn't it? Like that, there are so many existential, universal truths. And when you realize them, use them in your life. And that's the way you create a happy, healthy, peaceful life. So this is one mantra. that we will be continuously using. Whatever we are presenting, we have to look at what is the truth in it and how do I apply. Ultimately, it is not a mere intellectual exercise that we are doing here. All of us are investing our time. Why? So that we have a happy, healthy, and peaceful life. All right. So truth, realize, and use. This is the first mantra. The second mantra is, why at all do we have the satsanga? Another way to look at it is Shravana Manana Nidhi Dhyasa. See, the truths have to be heard first. And that is where, the talks of Prabhuji, then giving the reference of the Tattva Bodha text, so that you can read through them or you can listen to them. That is Shravana. Then Manana, contemplation. So our satsanga is mainly for contemplation. So each one of us will be presenting our understanding of what we have read or heard. That is contemplation. And through that, if somebody has a question, that can be raised, or if any clarification needs to be sought, that can be brought here. So collectively, there is all the life experiences, right from a teenage life experience to an adult life experience. We have all the life experiences. So we can examine how whatever that is being said is true. So Shravana, Manana, Nidhi, Dhyasa. Nidhi means treasure. Dhyasa means to hold on to it. So that treasure of that clarity is what we have to hold on to. When all the time, not just during this satsang. So this satsang is just like a catalyst. But when this should be applicable, all through our life, all the 24/7, in each and every living moment. So that is the prime intention. The prime intention is that whatever we are contemplating here, how we can apply in our each and day-to-day life, and how it can be a living and breathing, then that is the true Vedanta. Veda Anta, end of the knowledge. So it is not by reading something, listening to something that we become peaceful. It is by practicing it, by bringing it into our day-to-day life. And that is the main goal of the Vedanta study circle. So let me stop here. Any questions before we go into the next step? Are we all on the same page? Is this okay? Is this acceptable? Okay, perfect. All right. So now, today it may be a little longer because, today kind of we had to introduce and all this background had to be set. From next session onwards, time will be very precisely managed, or as much precisely as, practically possible will be managed. So what we will do now is, we had shared the link to the first video, the introduction to the Tattva Bodha, Prabhuji's talk. I hope all of you have been able to go through that. Yeah, so has everyone gone through that? Okay, perfect. Then each one of you can share your understanding based on that video that you saw. What is that you heard? What is that you have realized? And in your own way, how do you think it is useful for your life and how do you intend to use it? Truth, realize, and use. So we'll use that format to investigate each and every video that we are watching. All right. So does anybody want to first volunteer, or should we just have some sort of a name calling?
I can start.
Excellent.
Because yeah, maybe yeah. So the reason is I have not gone beyond the first video. I'm still there on the meaning of Atma Bodha and what we are trying to learn from this, right? Where Guruji starts with the explanation that the tattva is the essential nature of anything, and bodha being the knowledge to know about the essential nature of anything, right? And I feel this is the importance here is because of the fact that like throughout the life, the society has trained us to focus more on the outside, and that has led to the confusion and misery, right? And first identifying that that is not the reality, and which he has given by the examples of jewelry or a pot, where there can be different types of pots, but the essential nature of each of them is the mud. Or there can be, you can make different jewels, but the essential nature of them is the gold, right? While we focus on the types, what is the essential is what matters at the end of the day, right? Because the essential nature of these things do not change, while what you see out of it, the outside thing, the superficial thing, that is what continues to change. And this is applicable to us as well. Well, if you try to analyze, our essential nature is the being, the Sachidananda being, right? We are the consciousness. I am the consciousness first, and I exist. That's the essential nature. And beyond that, man or woman or young, old, right? How I look, all these things are the superficial ones, and trying to focus on that is what leads um, to the wrong to the wrong thing. And when we try to live on top of a wrong foundation, then the whole thing is not leading us to the right path. Should I stop here? And
no, you can present your understanding, and then if others have any questions related to what you are stating, then that question can be raised and we can have a quick discussion and then move on to another person.
yeah, so this is how I'm taking it, in the sense I have been like living my life with a focus on my own body, my own self, with a me as in the center, and my job, my family, and right. So there has been a lot of focus on this self, because the way I see it, the society trained me to basically get better off, and there was always this comparison, better than others, right? Do well. And it is always when I felt the focus was never on a collective thing than like on the individual. Throughout, I felt like the society focused on the individual, saying you get better, you have to do well, right? So that I felt like I lost that part where like or like I never realized that like everyone is the same. Essentially everyone is the same, and like just because uh, of the way they are today, because of a different family background, or they look, they can come with some disability, or like some may have some advantage that should not be that should not give them undue advantage, right? So that this is what at least I am learning from here, in the first part, where as a human being, focus on the being, and like uh, if you forget that part of that being, we are basically living a false life. So I would like to stop there, actually. Yeah.
Excellent. Does anybody have any particular questions to ask Saravananji? So you can present in your own way. Each one, no, when we hear or when we contemplate, we understand it in our own way, and that is what is being presented. And as that is being presented, if any questions raised in any minds, or if anybody wants to probe further, then that can be brought up. All right.
Vijayji, when I was going through the video, the one thing I felt was Prabhuji is trying to make us understand that the essential nature of everything and everyone is Brahman. So there is nothing other than Brahman. Anything other than Brahman, what the mind is seeing is just the name and form. So for every living, for everything and everyone, the essential nature is Brahman. We need to focus the mind or take our attention into the inner self rather than the outer world. So as we keep engaged in the materialistic world, we get trapped in the maya of name and form. So everything which our sense organs perceive, the eyes, the ears, the nose, or the tongue, or the skin, whatever we perceive is outer. And everything which is outer leads us to, as we get identified, it is not good or bad, it is not right or wrong that we are looking at things. But the more you identify yourself with anything outer, which is not your self, actual self, that takes you into the world of Maya. So Maya is basically wrong identification. In fact, what you are is Brahman. And if you leave that and try to navigate anything beyond Brahman, it takes you and you get trapped into the world of Maya, where in Maya there is nothing other than suffering. Because everything in the world is a constant changing fact that we see. So we cannot hold to something which is constantly changing. The only thing I was, I am, I will be, whatever is not changing there is my pure self, that is Brahman. So that is the essential nature of everybody, everything, what you see, what you perceive. So if you catch hold on to that one thing, that keeps you focused on the truth, and rest is Maya.
Very good. But why? What is the purpose of undertaking this learning, or why this clarity is necessary?
The clarity is necessary because every person seeks peace. And this question or this quest of seeking peace, in fact, is never there, because I am peace itself. So why am I seeking peace? Because I am thinking that I do not have it. Just like Prabhuji was saying, I don't want another nose because I already have a nose. So why are we seeking peace? We are thinking we do not have peace. In fact, we are peace. The moment this disidentification or the wrong identification with anything other drops, to realize that it is peace. That is why this is a self-inquiry or self-discovery. Discovery is something which you realize that is already there. It is not an invention. So when you discover that you are the self, and that happens only by dropping the non-self, then you hold on to the real I. And because we all are in the quest, or we think we are in the quest of realizing peace, it is not realizing peace. It is just dropping the false self and holding on to the real I, which is peace itself. To understand this, we have to undergo this process of Antar Madana, where we try to contemplate as much as possible, because we understand, but we can't sink it in our daily life.
So then are you saying that, the outwardly work has to be dropped? Is that what the intention of this is?
Doing everything material which is in your hand, which has been given to you at this moment, is what is there. So the non-resistance drops. You need not resist anything. You need not have raga or dvesha regarding anything. Just be. That being, if you are just staying in the being, everything else is just a happening. So with the Sakshi Bhava, when you are able to see things as something which is going on the screen, with or without your intervention, which has to happen, is just a happening, then the connection, the identification with the world drops. It is not the work which has to drop, the identification with your role as a CFO of a company, your role as a principal of a college, or your role as a mother, father, wife, husband, daughter, son. This is a role that you are playing. But the more you identify yourself, you get trapped. So you can do any amount of work. It is never, spirituality is never about dropping work, but it is only about dropping the identification with your work or with your role.
So with that dropping, does the amount of passion or the energy or the creativity you bring to the work reduce?
It never reduces. In fact, it gets doubled, because the whole wrong notions get dropped and there is a lot of mental clarity with which you act. So the light of the self really shines through you into whatever you do. Your very presence illuminates the whole surrounding. Your very silence also conveys a lot of positivity and energy, gives a lot of energy to people around you. To every work you're doing, energy just flows, because you yourself are an embodiment of peace. You are peace itself. So things work more smoothly. In fact, whatever you have been craving about, when the non-resistance, the resistance drops, there is even more free flow of energy, the universal peace, the universal consciousness, which flows into every act of yours.
Excellent. Very good. Tarananji, you have a question.
Yeah, I just wanted to give a more, maybe another direction. I think one that when you asked, like, will you stop associating with the role or drop it, or like how does it affect your day-to-day life? Because at the end of the day, everyone has we are all playing a role right now. The way I would see is like accepting the role, whatever we got, gracefully and playing it perfectly is what I see it, than like comparing myself to a person playing a different role, saying, that role, he or she is lucky to play that role. I did not get a chance to play that role. And right. So at the end of the day, if you see, there are like infinite roles being played, and there is nothing like one is a perfect role, right? And I think there is a reason why each of us are here today playing a role, and there is no comparison, right? That is how I would say, like, so play the role. And when I do that, my expectation drops, and that leads to being more content with what I am doing, right? That was one point I wanted to make. The second point is, again, I want to go back to that thing that there is a wrong knowledge which the society gave us, which is like you have to march ahead, and there is always a ranking. Where do you rank, right? And that is what is leading to this disaster and confusion in the society. And I think that I has to be dropped, and that collective self has to be realized. And very simply, I would say one example, the way how I'm able to implement is, in my team, if someone is good, I would say, you know what, first try to help everyone else to ensure that like they are able to go ahead with their work before you keep running, right? So that within the team, there is no competition of like who is better than the other, rather saying like everyone working together towards a collective goal, right? So yeah, these are the things that we have to first get clarified and drop the wrong knowledge, right? I think that's where this study helps. The Tattva Bodha is clearly saying, look at the essential nature and not at the outside self, because each one may have a unique advantage, but that is not what it is, right? Just because someone has a BMW and the other one has a smaller version of the car does not make the driver, if the driver is the same, is the same, right? You just got to ride a car, some car one day, another car another day. You don't change. Right, yeah.
Very nice. Okay. Who wants to go next? Who wants to share? Yes, Padmaji, you want to?
Yeah, yes, sir. Yeah, Hari Om to everyone again. I think one of the best things about Prabhuji's talks is that how simply he conveys very big things. You know, I am amazed by that. Like when the video started and I saw that a small, cooler in his hand, I was really amazed. Like that is a quality which you also have, Vijay sir, which where you show us big things in very simple ways. So I think what my take from that video was uh, like everyone else said, we are mud, right? We are mud. From whatever example that he showed, we are that mud, we are that gold, and we take various forms, just like that mud is transformed into maybe a vase, maybe a vessel, or maybe the gold is transferred into a earring, and each one has a different purpose, the roles that we take. So we are also doing various roles in a day to day life. We take various roles, but then essentially we are that true self, which we should not forget. And I think it is very easy to get entangled into whatever is coming our way, whether in terms of situations or emotions, because everyone has their own perception of who they are and what they are bringing into other people's life or situations. But only when we step back into the being that true self is we can analyze and the situation better, and then maybe react accordingly, or rather act accordingly. And it's a day to day, I think it's on a daily basis we go through that with each and every situation and each and every person. So to keep reminding ourselves constantly is what we can do, or at least what we can start. Because I think it is very difficult, it is very easy to say that uh, true self. I think most of us know that this is not our true self inside within us, but then to apply it is so difficult, because ultimately we are also part of that journey, and there are many emotions and situations which we go through where we forget that totally. Maybe after that whole thing happens, then we sit back, and when we are alone in a room where nobody is there, whoever caused were involved in that, we come to realize that, oh my god, I could have reacted differently, or this could have happened this way, or maybe that person had this perspective and that's why they behave like that. That clarity is not there when you are amongst that or within that situation. I think so, constantly reminding ourselves that no, you are that mud, you are that gold, and you just take different forms. Not that the forms are bad or good in any way, probably that at that point that form is only needed. Like when you want to drink water, that mud cannot make you drink water. Only that cup or whatever that mud is made of is needed at that moment to drink that water. So anything is not bad, it's just that at the end of the day you have to know that you are that mud. So it keeps you in perspective of what is to be done, and only do that, nothing more or nothing less, is what I feel. One thing. Then second, what I thought is, although we take those forms, we are not that form, is something that we have to understand. And not only that, I think we have to always also realize and use that in according for other people. Like we also have to realize that they are also that same mud, they are also playing that role. So essentially for them also, maybe they don't realize it, maybe some may not even be that spiritual. Whoever are in your journey, everybody is not spiritual, or they are not at the same level as you. So maybe they don't have the understanding that they are the mud right now. But then if you know that you are the mud, you should also be able to apply it to others so that you can see it more clearly, so that you know that they are also playing a role. That is something, I think that is one important take, because when you start seeing the same thing in others, whatever is your true self, I think your true self starts becoming bigger. You are able to expand and accept many situations, many people, uh, and many experiences. And I think that's when you start to believe that everything that happens for good, either for you or for the other person involved in that situation. So ultimately, everything happens is only happening for good, and everything has a purpose. Nothing happens just accidentally in this universe, I feel. I mean, whether it's a small plant, a flower, everything has a purpose. uh, that's how I have started seeing things. And nature has a beautiful way to balance it as well. I mean, we feel right now, whatever the world is going through, we feel that, this corona is bad and all that. But I think there has been a lot of learning, I think, on a personal front. Lot of people have acquired skills which they didn't even know existed. And the entire universe has regenerated, kind of thing. And it has all, I think, brought us also to a pause to think that, we have been going like a like a horse. We just march forward. So now I think we have got to remove that and see, okay, let's reflect. Has everything been going the way it should, or maybe we should change? So it has kind of been enforced upon us, because nature cannot talk verbally like us. But I feel like that in everybody's life, there are some situations like this which forces you to, even if you're not willing to make that change, because change is constant is what I feel in our life also. So every day something is happening, something new. We may like it, we may don't like it, but it happens anyway. So also I feel that, although our journey, we don't know when it started, when it's going to end. There is no end probably. But what I feel is, in everybody's life there is one event that has happened which kind of brings about that shift in you, where you start to strive to look within. Like otherwise, it's just a monotonous thing every day you're doing. If you do it from a superficial point of view, you just go about waking up, doing all the things at the end of the day. But but there is one incident or one situation that comes across to you, either personally to you or through your loved ones and close ones, or it could be in your work. Whatever affects you the most, I feel that is the experience which comes to you, which makes you take that leap, where you want to shift and start going inwards, and knowing your true self. I feel that. So everybody will have that experience. Some may realize it, some may not even know that they have made that shift or that transition. So, but it's inevitable. I think it's going to come. That's it. So that is my take from the first video. Also, I feel that, like I'm not sorry, I didn't know whether it was Satyalata ji or Saravanan ji who talked about the energy. I think Satyalata ji probably. So I feel that everything is energy, like the entire universe is energy, and constant exchange of energy is happening all the time, whether it is within us, between people, between us and the object. There is constant exchange. And I think what we radiate most comes back to us in abundance. So, so what we want in life is what we should radiate. If we want peace, we should radiate peace. If we want love, we should radiate love. if we want respect, we should first start giving respect to every being around us. So, and anything positive you give, you receive it so much more. Same thing happens with negative, I think, because I don't think universe understand anything negative, because everything it brings is just positive and for the good. So nothing is negative. It's just our perspective, I feel. So that is my take. Also, sir, I had one question to you. When you shared the link for the video, right? There are many videos below that of Prabhuji. So how is it like this time? I just watched the first video, so I couldn't go to the second. I'm sorry, I didn't have the time. But is it like do we explore it in each class, or we can go about it on a regular? How is it, sir?
Sure. So how it is organized is, there are about 14 talks on Tattva Bodha by Prabhuji. And that is what you will find as day 1, day 2, day 3, till day 14. And each one, if you see, they are about 50 minutes plus or 1 hour kind of talks. And in those talks, there are very relevant topics that are in each of the talk. For example, in the very first talk, what is Tattva Bodha? Then what is the purpose of Tattva Bodha? Then what is our true nature? Like that, if you see, various topics are discussed. And this big video is all put together as one series of talks. Then under that, you will find smaller videos, T1, T2, like that you will find. Those are nothing but smaller topics. So it's essentially the topic videos are from the main video only. Okay. So it is to give attention to a particular topic at hand. The talk is one full. See, right now, for example, you spoke at length. Now you spoke from, though you did not necessarily use Tattva Bodha, you mainly spoke in terms of, how Tattva Bodha you are using in your day-to-day life, your perspective of that, correct? So there are so many topics that you kind of covered, from energy to your day-to-day life, how you, receive what you send, like that you covered. If you had to focus on, okay, in terms of questions, maybe the first question could have been, what am I studying? And why is this useful? And how I would apply this? Maybe like that, you can organize it into some questions, right? Same thing has been done in that videos. So the big video is all talk, and then it's been divided into topics. So as far as your exploration is concerned, one of the way you can consider doing it is you can listen to the talk, then you can look into what are the key questions in that are applicable to, based on my own personal day-to-day life experience, applicable, and how would I explain it or experience it through my experiences. There Prabhuji may be giving some example. You can then reflect upon, okay, how is my personal experience related to that? Does it correlate to that? Does it agree to that? Or is it not agreeing to that? If it is not agreeing, then how is this being spoken there? So because, it is not about Prabhuji speaks and we accept. That is not going to help. Prabhuji speaks, we receive it, then we have to churn it. Yeah, so that manthana has to happen, right? So that is the whole idea. So to your question, when you're listening to that, you can note down such questions that you feel you're not agreeing to completely, and those are the ones that we can bring about for discussion. Does that answer what you asked?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. To a certain extent. Also, I wanted to understand that you said that we can share like 5 to 7 minutes of talk or whatever on our learning. So if we could also get a direction, like, see, I prepared my own, right? So I had my view only, like my perspective from my life. So if we can have a common questionnaire based on, suppose we are seeing a video, and then if there is a common questionnaire based on which we can prepare our talks, I think that will give a more understanding of what each other's thoughts are rather than, presenting just our view. Because I felt like that for me, it was like when I was going through the video, it's always how I connect with it to my life and my experiences. So similarly, everybody might be connecting in a different way. So I thought that if you could give some guideline, basic questions after the video or any shloka that we are going to contemplate, that will kind of give a more specific direction to uh, sharing our views, I thought, sir.
So, for example, what kind of questions you think could have been asked?
Like you have already said what is Tattva Bodha and all, but I felt that I think if I would have watched more of those videos, I could have talked more, I felt. Like after watching the first video, I think my thing stopped with the mud itself. Beyond that, I had to go through the video 2-3 times to even know, like that's what I did even with the Kathopanishad that I used to watch. Some things were very simple, but then after I explored 2-3 times, I felt that the first time I watched was very superficial learning for me, like how we know the Mahabharata or the story, and when I heard the perspective that you gave, the spiritual aspect of it was very different. Like I didn't even think from uh, that point of view. So that's why I was suggesting that, sir. Maybe is it right, the direction of our thought? Is it going in the right way, or maybe we need to steer here or there, something like that, to be more.
Perfect. Good point. So do all of us agree that for every video, for every session, there can be a set of questions, and each one of us will primarily focus to address these questions. Okay, these are the 4 questions that I'm going to discuss. For example, like that, you will begin and you'll take the first question and you will share your perspective, and it can be from your life experiences only. So hearing to Prabhuji is to get clarity at let's say overall that what is Tattva Bodha teaching, and as a teaching. Then how do you connect to that particular teaching for this particular question from your life experience? Make sense? Yeah. So we can yeah, definitely we can adopt that practice, Padmaji. Let us see how it goes.
Yes, sir. Not that anybody cannot share. I mean, they can share whatever they want to. This was just my suggestion, sir. That maybe it will give more concrete.
Kind of a little more concrete direction.
Yeah.
Fair enough. That's also okay. So maybe we can have a little bit of like how each one of you summarized your understanding in maybe a minute and a half, and then jumping into these particular questions. Like that, it can be organized. Perfect. Very good.
Also, Vijayji, like, are we planning to like take one video every week, or was it?
Yeah, so maybe we can go into the next steps. Let's also listen to Sri Charan, Shubhaji, Kamaji, and Priyaji. Who wants to go next?
Yeah, Vijayji, can I add to something?
Yes, please, Kamaji.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. Yeah. See, I fully agree with what Padmaji said. Yes, that's a typical researcher's bent of mind. Be it in professional life, be it in education, or be it in our spiritual life as well. Though we talk about a lot of I mean, I've seen people discussing about different commentaries and all. The subject is high level is the same. Okay, different commentaries give you different perspective, and this is what a very classic saying that is there. Jaisi drishti vaishi srishti. The way you look at it, it's all for you to interpret. And that's what it is. And coming back to the video, yes, I have just had a glance. I'll be honest to myself. I just had a glance because I don't have that patience. Rather, I don't have that span of concentration. But one thing I would certainly tell, and this is what I have been doing right from my childhood, whether it's my nature or whether that the way it is everybody is doing. That is, you read it once, you will never understand. You just get to see only the very high level information, because that's very easy to catch. What people call it as obvious. the very trivial ones. Second time when you read again, you would have got something more because your foundation. See, this is slowly you're building your foundation. And that is what they say. You read over and over again. And then what happens is suddenly there will be a big gap because of some other reasons. Your priorities are shifted. And then when again you come back, the entire perspective is different. You really start enjoying it because you're revisiting again and again. But behind there's a subconscious which is chewing on it. Okay, that is what I feel. And yes, all these videos we see, there are a lot of distractions. These are all motherhood statements. We all go through it. Okay, even the important ones, what we do in a day-to-day life, there will be 10 different things popping up, and you've lost the concentration. And what I feel in the end, and in that video also, it's the starting, whatever, that mud and that cup and all that. This is exactly what we are looking for at the end, right? Whatever we do, we want to see the way it is, not the way we want it to be. And that is what I feel is, this is what my understanding is. And there are other things which came up, like, the role and all. Of course, I'll not touch upon it because as Vijayji rightly said, we start with the, end and then we come backwards. Okay, so yes, keeping that spirit in mind, let's go step by step. So I have a lot of questions when I saw those videos, but that is only for me to keep on, have these questions at the back of mind, what they say, prepare a list of questions, and whenever you read something, oh, okay, I've got the answer for this. So you pick it up. Then you go to the next one. Perhaps it may not be that in that order, it kind of flip-flop. Some things which you will get to know the answer at much later in point. And I really want to share this. And yeah, see, there are certain things which I learned in my school, the mathematics part of it. And that time it was a forced burden. It was like a forced labor. I had to answer it. I had to get the maximum marks. But now I'm really enjoying it because I saw some videos which explain the same thing in such an easy way. And now you realize, oh, such a beautiful thing. Why I missed them? Because that time I was under stress, or maybe I was ignorant. Okay, now that interpretation is totally different. And that's what it is. Now you enjoy it, but that time you didn't. Enjoying this not the physical one, I mean, not the one which the senses are seeing. It generally you feel, oh yeah, this is what it is. This is how we are. This is what you're seeing in its own way. I mean, that is how it is. You're not attributing anything to it. Seeing it as it is what, in my opinion, is Tattva Bodha. And that's what is said. The nessness is what I'm creating. Yeah, that's all that I want to just add. Yes.
Excellent, Kamarji. Very nice. Sri Charan, are you there?
Yes, Vijayji, yeah.
Would you like to share more?
Yeah, yes. So what I have understood is Tattva Bodha is essentially nature of the self. So Tattva means nature. So Shankaracharya has written Tattva Bodha in a time where different religions were coming to India, caste system was very prominent, and one of the main reasons Tattva Bodha explains the real nature of the self was because of a wide conflict among religions. What were they trying to establish? What was the path that was not defined? But Shankaracharya, the great sage, came to light and he explained it wonderfully. So Tattva Bodha is all about the true nature. And what are we not about? The Neti, first it explains about the Neti Marga. What are we not about? We are not the body. We are not the Sukshma Sarira. We are not the Stula Sarira, gross bodies and subtle bodies. And it also explains about the 4 qualifications. Just a minute, Vijay. Yeah, it explains about the 4 qualifications, like mumukshatva, the intense desire for enlightenment, and also about the 6 qualifications, shama, dama, shat, sampat. All these qualifications are necessary to attain enlightenment. Now, why enlightenment? This is because for enlightenment, vasanakshaya is very important. All the annihilation of all vasanas is essential. Why must one aspire to become enlightened? Is one of the reasons is rebirth and reincarnation. And also the second one is to know the essential nature of the self. We as humans have been given the intellectual capacity to reason. This is the highest form as we are aware of. From all the animals, plant, centennial forms and all, human form is the highest form of awareness. So even Shankaracharya says that to get a human life itself is a rare feat. So in this form, we have to experiment. We have to experiment with ourselves as to why are we here? What are the reasons? What is our essential true nature? And we have all those literary sources which helps us to understand and also to contemplate on our true nature. So if the real nature is, if we are clear about our real nature, all the juxtapositions about our external forms, that I am this, I am that. Yes, it is true that to live in a normal real world, that I am so and so, I do this job is essential. But to advance in a spiritual form, the ultimate question, the existential questions, the answers are only provided through spiritual platforms. So the main lesson of Tattva Bodha is, if we are not the mind, we are not the intellect, we are pure consciousness. In the West, actually, it has been the opposite. It has been religions like Christianity. What I feel is, it has been the body is a source of consciousness. Even medical doctors in the West, they say there's a region in the brain, from the brain consciousness arises. And even we today, we think of it as consciousness arising from some part of brain. It is very hard for us to imagine that consciousness can exist without anything, without any body. The Hinduism, on the other hand, is a completely different ball game, which says consciousness exists without bodies. So consciousness is the source of bodies. That is what Hinduism says. But Western religions, on the other hand, say body is body in the sense the subtle body. They say it as the soul. Soul is the source of consciousness. So both are correct in their true these things, because when we go down to the deeper bodies, the Annamaya Kosha, Pranam, there are different koshas in Hinduism. Vijnanamaya Kosha, Manoramaya Kosha. The last one is Anandamaya Kosha, the ultimate blissful state. That is kind of like an overlapping between body and consciousness. These to study Vedanta, to study Tattva Bodha in true is to explore the different faculties of inner faculties of human beings, their inner bodies and their relationships with each other, and how they interact. That is what I understood.
Very nice, Charanji. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Any questions that are coming to anybody with the Charanji's introduction? So he covered a whole gamut of information. So see, one thing is, here the assumption is all these terms that are coming up, whether it is Panchakoshas or some of the scriptural references. So all these terms, if at all you are not familiar, please make a note. Then we can have separate discussions about them. For example, the Pancha Koshas themselves is a topic of discussion. So like that, we can make a note of it. If something is not clear to you, with anybody's question, with anybody's presentation, if the viewpoint is not clear to you, the whole idea is to bring it about. So it is not just to merely, okay, so we are here to upload, okay, Charanji, you spoke well. Ultimately, it has to lead to truth, realize and use. If Kamatji has said something about, okay, I use it in my office in this way, and if that example is not making sense to you, then bring it out, so that we can have a discussion. So that way he can clarify. So that is the true spirit of the study circle. The study circle's purpose is not to accept whatever somebody is saying, or neither to reject it, is to see how it is possible. He has a certain viewpoint. How is it possible? Only when we shift ourselves into that viewpoint and see it from that, then maybe they will realize, okay, maybe, what I said is not completely correct, maybe slightly here. So that is the whole exchange that is important here. Yeah, this is the way I feel about, how our spirit of the conversations should be. And at any point of time, it is not to demean somebody's viewpoint. The classical example is, the mountain. At the bottom of the mountain, what you see are some trees, houses, road. At the middle part of the mountain, you see slightly elevated position, different things. The houses seem smaller, but now you see many more items. Doesn't mean that, the item that you're seeing there are incorrect. That's just a perspective shift has to happen, like many of you said. At the top of the mountain, the visage is totally different. Doesn't mean that the visage from the bottom is incorrect. That is all that could be seen. So it is not with the spirit of, okay, it is incorrect, but with the spirit of, okay, from here it is seen like this, from here it is being seen like this. So how can we shift ourselves? And that shift is the expansion. Okay. Who wants to go next? Shubhaji or Shubhaji, will you go, or Priyaji?
Vijayji, I would like to put some points.
Yeah, please, Priyaji. Yeah. Are you there?
My network is bad now.
Sorry?
My network seems to be bad, Vijayji. As you said, the two mantras behind learning is, one is the truth.
Priyaji, really sorry, your voice is not clear. It is getting cut.
Disconnected the thing. Hopefully I can, now can you hear me?
Yeah, this seems to be okay. Please continue to speak, then we will know.
Yeah.
If you want, you can turn off the video and you can speak. See if that makes a difference.
Yes. Yes. The in the beginning of the class, absolutely required, I guess, for my part of thing in this class. I went through the video. I could understand a little bit what is the superficiality, what is the essence of this life. Ultimately, what is the thing is called a mud in every mode of the thing, what is there, and what is the human and being, the society. See, we are ultimately living like a to the every part in the moment of this life, like we are forgetting ourselves to enlighten and to understand our what this I could understand now in this thing. So again, the video, and I hope I'll get back with a few questions in this regard. Thanks, Vijayji.
Okay, all right. So what I could understand from what you said is, you identified some key aspects that you learned from that video, and that
Yes.
you still want to watch it again, and then you want to come back with the questions. Is that
Yes.
correct?
Yes, exactly. That's the thing.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Priyaji. Shubhaji?
Yes, sir. So basically, what I went, the video I went through, Tattvabodha, yes, everybody knows what it is from the video. But what I could make out from my experiences, see, all these years I was focusing more on the glass part. See, that glass example literally made me understand very easily. I was thinking, oh, I don't know how I'm going to understand these concepts, but that glass example is fantastic. So all these years I was focusing more on the glass part. So after of course, after Gita classes, I started focusing on the mud part. So, but this literally tells us that we have been focusing on things which we are not supposed to, but we were focusing on. So that was the cause of all our stress, miseries, everything. So now that if we can learn to focus more on the mud part rather than the glass part, is what I could take away from this video, sir. So overall summary, I've done a big summary, but this is the main thing that caught my this thing, which I can apply to my life, is what I would like to share here.
Excellent. No, but if you have made other points, please go on, speak about it.
That's too many things. So, but this is the main essence I felt I could, because almost most of the points is covered by everybody here. So this I felt is really it's such a simple thing. We couldn't we are not able to find all these years, and we were causing our life so much misery. So probably if we focus more on that mud part, at the end of the day, the mud is more important than the glass part. Of course, the utility of the glass is there, but at the end of the day, it's the mud we should look at. So if we look at that part of it, I feel, okay, why did I waste all these years?
Good. Excellent. But go ahead and speak. See, it is very important to speak. Why it is so is, the whole focus of the study circle is, one is Prabhuji speaking, so that all that we need to say is, look, Prabhuji has already spoken. What is the need for me to speak? Why is it important for that, each one of us speak? Why? What do you feel?
Sir,
Ideas can come in.
Okay. Definitely.
Different side of the same idea. There will be totally different views.
Right. Correct. That is correct.
Each one will have different perspective in understanding the essence of whatever the information is there. So you might be having a broader thinking, and I might be the beginner in the thing. So even if I will be the beginner in the journey, but my idea of pursuing might be stronger, whoever have got the experience. So ultimately what I feel is always sharing the information is always better when we are all working in the platform. So as you said, it is a circle where we are all getting and assimilating the knowledge, understanding what is life exactly.
Excellent. Very nice. Yes, Padmaji?
yeah, sir, I feel that, when you listen, there can be distractions like Kamath sir shared. But when you speak, right, I think you need to be more focused, because there are so many people listening to you, and you are conveying something very important about yourself, not only about the topic, right? So I think you're more focused, and your clarity is more when you want to speak, when you want to convey something. So I think even I like to do something like what Shubhaji did. If you see my Gita research book, there will be so many things written on it. If somebody sees that page, they cannot make any head and tail out of it, because I will make my own notes. When I come to the class, you will say something, and I will not write the entire thing because I'm listening to you. So I will write with different color pens, few words, which I will come back to later, and which only I can make sense of. I can only connect those dots. So when I say it out, when I talk it out, I think it kind of also registers a second time. It's like writing it down again. So it's reinforcing for me. So I think that's very important, I feel, for myself.
Very good. Correct. Any other perspectives?
Yeah, in fact, Vijayji, by sharing your views, we are able to get the 360-degree view. In fact, every one of us are at a different position on the same mountain. All of us want to reach the peak of the mountain, But all of us, because of our situations or our different perspectives of life, life takes us only to a particular extent. And I personally feel that life need not give real lessons to each one of us. We can always learn from some other person's lessons also, because life's lessons, though I shouldn't say it, they are harsh. So it's better we realize, by people around us, rather than we ourselves experience the whole lesson, because life will anyway teach us. The main purpose of life is to teach us and then leave us. So I feel this is really going to help. And as Padmaji said, when we are speaking, we are also listening. So that makes it more, authentic, and we get more clarity when we are speaking, because it stays inside. What we say, it always stays inside. It's the same in the case of teachers. Teachers are very well versed with their subject. Reason being, they are teaching so many times. So this is a good platform where once I say something, I'm actually listening to what I'm saying, and it stays with me forever. So this I feel is, and here I feel Sharananji is trying to relate whatever he has learned with the exact every day. I mean, in his office, what he would do, with his, when he's comparing with other people, what would he do? Or if others are expecting or comparing him with others, what would he do? And Padmaji gives her perspective of what I should look at, rather than what I should not look at. And Shubhaji, everyone, Kamatji, the way you are looking at things, I feel everyone has a clarity. All of us have clarity. The only thing is we just have to connect the dots, so that all of us have a complete 360 degrees view.
Very nice. Kamaji, you wanted to say something.
Yeah, okay. Just I wanted to add this point. That is, when we speak, we are more conscious than when we hear somebody. But this is also equally important, because I have experienced many a times that we speak to everybody, almost everybody, right? Without any. Yeah, sometimes we have little inhibitions. No, I should not speak this in front of everybody. But sometimes, especially the personal problems or something. But we all have some one or two friends which we trust them. Okay, because they patiently listen. They may not give you solution, but in doing so, what happens is you get an answer for your own discussion. And this I've seen in professional life, or sometimes when I'm stuck with something, I just talk to my friend in one room, or when we are alone. Hey, see, I'm stuck with this and I'm not able to solve it. But then he listens, he never gives back, because he might be running something else in the back of his mind. But I get an answer for that. And then I say, oh, I have not tried this. So let me go and try. This is one thing which we all experience. But when it comes to spirituality, yes, the same technique also works, but we have to be more conscious. And I think we have to keep practicing. They have not explored all the possibilities. That's what I think.
Excellent. Very nice. See, there is a scientific term called as rubber duck technique, especially in programming. No, programming is lot of thinking and typing something, and it's only the thinker who knows what the logic is. What happens many a times, there is lines and lines and lines of code, thousands and thousands of lines of code that is written. And many times it is very difficult to know exactly where the problem is coming. Somewhere, some little change has happened, some variable is not correctly assigned, something is happening, and suddenly the program is crashing. So it's extremely challenging to debug some of the very nuances and in particular conditions. So one of the technique that is recommended is called as rubber duck technique. What it is very simple. You're trying to explain what is happening there step by step to a rubber duck. Will a rubber duck ever react to you? Will a rubber duck ever ask you questions? Will a rubber duck ever judge you? No. But the rubber duck is patiently listening to you. And that, like Kamaji said, somehow reorganizes and kind of connects the dots, like Lataji said, and like all of you said, it's the same essence. So it's very, very important that, we speak out. And we speak out in a forum like this, where each one of us is looking at, okay, what is the truth? How do I realize the truth, and how do I use it? Not from the standpoint of judging another person. It is from the standpoint of, how can I learn from each one of us? Each one here, I mean it when I say it, that each one is a guru. Look at your life. Your life is not because of what you think. It is because of what others around you have made you into. Isn't it? You are what you are, or you are who you are, only because of all the others who have contributed to you. Without their contribution, for example, right now I'm speaking some English. I always remember my Rosie ma'am, in my school, very old person. She used to teach me. My father used to teach me English. Without them teaching, today if I can speak any English, it is their contribution. Today, if we are using this computer to connect with each other, it is so many others' contribution. Today, if we are discussing a topic such as Tattva Bodha, it is the guidance of Prabhuji. So like that, in each and every step of our way, what I think I'm doing in life is nothing but a contribution of others only. Nothing is really mine. What is there that I can call as mine? This shirt is not mine. Mother Earth has given. This language is not mine. It has come from the existence. Every little thing that I call as mine, is not something that I created. So in this fantastic contribution from the others, there is this shape also that is made, which is something unique to say about this existence. It is like, think of it this way, no? This is a wonderful movie, such a wonderful movie that cannot be told from only one angle. How many love stories have been made in Bollywood? But still that subject doesn't go stale. Even today, somebody comes with a new perspective of telling the same old love story. One boy loves another girl, and then they somehow find a way to get married. But that is told in so many different ways. And each way connects to us in some ways, isn't it? So I just wanted to summarize my perspective of what we are doing. See, fundamentally, we have a collection of our thoughts in our mind. What is mind fundamentally? Mind is fundamentally collection of what all we have received from the world through our senses, through the 5 senses. And whenever we say, I am talking about me, usually it is one of this identity that we pick. I am a boy. I am this, whatever the name, Vijay. I am this boss. I am. So something that has been collected is what I call as me, generally. And there are some things which are mine and something that are others in this collection, isn't it? So now, for example, whose mobile is this? I would say my mobile. Whereas you would say it is your mobile. So like that, I and mine also is another thought in the mind. And this is what I eventually start calling as my life. If I go and ask any one of you, or if somebody comes and asks, how is your life? Depending upon what I'm feeling that day, what I'm thinking that day, I say, oh, my life, is miserable. Don't ask me about it. So many problems. My wife is bothering me. My employees are bothering me. The road is bothering me. So many sad stories. From where is it coming? From here only. And this, my life, is what I project as life itself, no? Somebody comes and asks you, how is life? Life is very fantastic. For a little child, life is very fantastic. Why? Because that is how it is in his mind. A little grown up, a little, very serious person will say, life is you don't ask me, so many problems. Mother-in-law problem, son problem, boss problem, so many problems all come. Where it is again, in my mind only. In my mind, all these thoughts I have collected, First is I tell about, these are, about my life, but that itself I project as life. And that is how I see the world as. What I call as the world is nothing but collection of some thoughts in my mind. So this is the continuously changing phenomena. Because what I knew 1 year back, now I know something else. I have added, subtracted, deleted, modified that information. So this collection of thoughts keeps changing from the so-called time of birth till the so-called time of death. This is all we deal with day in and day out when we say, I'm living my life. And this is generally, we get stuck in life. Depending upon what all the different things that are important, I get stuck with those kinds of thoughts. And that is how I start living my life. This is essentially what is called as ego, isn't it? Ego means, in Sanskrit it is ahamkara, aham akara. Aham means mine, me and mine. What is me and mine really? Me and mine is really nothing but some thought in the mind. And I'm connected to that some thought. So the fundamental question is, all along our life is we are only focused on this collection, but we somehow forget the collector. Who is the one who is collecting all this? Who is the one who is saying, I am Vijay? Who is the one who is saying, this is my phone? So the collection and the collector, we do not segregate. We live life only with the collection. Most often we get into miseries of life because we start looking at the collection. See, the mobile, because it has fallen, now the glass is broken. And because this is my mobile, I feel in my mind, this is now a cause of misery because, oh, my mobile is broken. The other's mobile is not broken. That mobile is more powerful. This mobile is less powerful. So this collection is the cause of so-called misery. So when I realize that I am not the collection, that I am the collector, then what should I collect? Becomes very, very easy, because I can collect whatever I want to. See, that is the biggest power I have. As a consciousness, there is no limit to what you can collect. And when you collect the whole of the existence, that is Brahmatva. See, you have no more a limitation of collecting. You no more say, oh, only I will collect only this much. I will only collect so-called Hindu ideas. I will not collect the Muslim ideas. I will collect only the Pakistani ideas. I will not collect the French ideas. When that separation drops, when that what I should collect and should not collect drops, when that imaginary boundary drops, then that is Brahmatva. If at all there is a God, I don't know. If there is a God, that God is responsible for everything, no? He has created everything, no? So then, in his mind at least, there cannot be a separation, no? So all that we are aspiring for is to reach that state of the God, that mind of the God, that may my mind also expand to the level of the God. And the level of the God is infinite. Which means there cannot be any boundaries. And that is what I feel is the essence of Tattva Bodha also. And that is what I feel is the spirit of our Satsanga also. Because it is in the Satsanga that Nissanga can arise. Satsangatve Nissangatvam. Nissangatve Nirmohatvam. Nirmohatve Nischalatatvam. Nischalatatve Jivan Mukti. So the process of Jivan Mukti is Satsanga. Satsanga means what? Of course, this is Satsanga, where we are discussing not the politics of the life, where we are not discussing the the inequalities of life. Here our focus is Sat, that is truth. Sat Sangha. Only when we make the Sangha of the truth, Nissanga arises. Because, in our mind, there are so many Sanghas. See, Sanghas are not outside. It is only in our own mind. I am, okay, this boy. I am this girl. I am this jati. I am this intelligent. I am this boss. All are Sanghas, no? Different Sanghas. I love that. I hate this. That's another Sangha. So I've created so many boundaries. These boundaries are the Sanghas, no? Communities. Where are they? In my mind. Only when I make Sangha with Sat, only when I become a friend of the truth, Nissanga, then only I can come out of all these Sanghas. Otherwise, I'm always stuck in these Sanghas. Only in these Sanghas I'm stuck. So coming out of that Sangha is the only way is the torch of the truth. Satsangatve Nissangatvam. Nissangatve Nirmohatvam. Only when I realize the truth, Nirmoha means there is no more hatred or liking for anything in life. Everything can be part of life. There is no good or bad. But there is a certain way in which I need to function in the world. So, Nissangatve Nirmohatvam. And only when I have no more hatred or liking, Nirmohatva can come. Nirmohatva means the ability to be unattached. Unattached means, unattached doesn't mean you're not involved. Unattached means it no more has an effect on you. Because the collector now has become different from the collection. Collector has realized, I am the collector, so no more I am the collection. And the collector has realized that I can collect whatever I want to. So therefore, there is no more worry of will I have less or more. Because the collector has realized that I am infinite. I have the ability to collect infinitely. So the tension and the worries of the collection are dropping. So Nirmohatva. Only when Nirmohatva comes, Nischala Tattvam. Then is the Nididhyasa. Means clarity. And with that clarity, every moment of the way. Again, this is a shloka from Bhajagovindam by Shankaracharya only. Tatsangatve Nissangatvam, Nissangatve Nirmohatvam, Nirmohatve Nischalatatvam, Nischalatatve Jivan Muktihi. Because whatever we are seeking is not something like a afterlife. Nobody who has died and come back and told us what heaven or hell is. But certainly we know when living here, it can be a hell or heaven. It's a living hell when I have so many miseries of, what they did, what they did not do, what they called me, what they did not call me, all the insults, all the worries of the world, that can certainly make my life a living hell. But when I realize what is the cause of that living hell, then this life itself can be a source of joy. So that Swarga, I do not know after life what the Swarga is, but I certainly know what Swarga can be in this life. That's why the great masters say, the kingdom of the heaven is within you. Kingdom of the heaven is here and now, here. Brahmananda. And that is the spirit of our Satsanga, is to see that in our living moment by moment life. So this is my view of how to look at the Tattva Bodha. Any questions that anybody wants to bring up before we conclude for today? All right. Then let us quickly for 5 minutes discuss how we want to take the next step. So now, this is the first video that we saw. There are 14 videos. So these 14 videos can be our kind of like map for every session. See, when we're going from one place to another place, we need a map. And the map has intermediate points. Okay, we'll stop here, we'll stop here. Like that, it acts as a very good guiding pole. Yeah. So we can use the videos as our guiding pole. Each video focuses on certain aspects of the Tattva Bodha text. So therefore, when you're looking at the video, you can also look at the Tattva Bodha text if you are interested. But otherwise, Prabhuji's talk itself can be a good source of your own contemplation. And with that, we can add, like Padmaji suggested, questions that we can focus on in each of the session. And what we can do here when we come together is, each one of us can maybe summarize what we understood or what we realized from that particular talk. Then what is our perspective on those questions that we can list. And it is not only me who can list the questions, each one of you can list the question. Maybe as you go through the video, you can also pose a question. And if at all there is some question that you feel, the group, as a group, we need to discuss, maybe a clarity that you need, that also can be that. Yeah. So like that, we'll collect the questions. When we come here, each one of us will summarize our understanding and we'll jump into the questions. This is what, one method that we can adopt, I feel. But please now tell me if this sounds okay to all of you. Any recommendations? Okay, Padmaji. Kamaji.
Yeah, Vijayji, actually, is it 14 videos that are available or 14 days?
There are 14 days in which, when Guruji has spoken, and there are 14 videos which are these full videos. But if you look at it in each of the full video, there are subtopics. So in that way, there are many, many videos.
Yes.
But broadly, there are 14 videos.
Okay. So each fortnight, we can take one video.
Yeah. So our frequency of meeting can be fortnight. Is that also okay with all of you? Fortnight. Yeah. Every fortnight we will meet. Yeah. So our next session will be 2 weeks after. That way it gives us enough time to look into these questions and also to contemplate and to bring up any other questions. And the group can be active. Whenever there is a question, we can put that question in the group.
Yeah. Okay.
And
That's
any one of us can provide our viewpoint to that particular question. So that itself is a way of contemplation. Okay. And if at all we ourselves are not able to gain clarity, we can always put that question to Prabhuji also. All right. Any other point anybody wants to bring up before we conclude? So because, the first session, it has taken a little longer. So today we won't have the meditation session. So today we will wrap it up here. And from next session, we'll also conclude our sessions with Nirvanashtakam. So there is a 6th stanza of, wonderful poetry by Shankaracharya. And Sri Charanji suggested or mentioned about Neti Neti Marga. See, the collection and the collector. To realize about the collector, who you are not, that you are not any of the collection has to be removed, right? And that is the Neti, Na Iti. Neti, Neti, Neti. I am not that, I am not that, I am not that. And that is the essence of Nirvanashtakam, a 6th stanza poem of who I am not. So I'll also share the link of that video in the group. You can also go through that by your, at your own leisure. From next session, before we conclude, we'll use that as one of the contemplation tool. See, our sessions, we begin with a certain prayers. We began by reminding ourselves that our true nature is this infinite consciousness. This awareness is who I am truly. And we offered our respects to the Guru Parampara. And then we went into the contemplation. Then we are going to end, going forward, our contemplation with the Nirvanashtakam. And then, the most important prayer. How do we want our life to be? Happy, healthy, peaceful. Is it enough if I am happy, healthy, peaceful? No, the members in my family also have to be happy, healthy, peaceful. Is that enough? No, my neighbors also have to be. Is that enough? No, my city also has to be. Enough? No, my country. No, the whole world. Just people? No. Even the animals, even the plants. The entire existence has to be happy, healthy, peaceful. If there's a fellow called God, he would wish for the happy, healthy, peaceful state of everyone. And with that feeling, we'll end our sessions. Though there is a seeking, the ultimate answer is in this prayer. When I live life with that sense of offering, that is the true God. God doesn't want anything from anybody. God wants to give whatever that anybody wants. And that infinite capacity is within each one. With that feeling, we'll end our session. So we'll say Om and we'll say Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinaha. Those of you who know, you can join along with me. I'll also share that text to you. So from next session, you can also recite that. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinaha Sarve Santu Niramayaha Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschid Dukkha Bhag Bhavet Om Sarvesham Swastir Bhavato Sarvesham Shantir Bhavato Sarvesham Purnam Bhavato Sarvesham Mangalam Bhavato Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat. Thank you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
See you all in another fortnight. Till then, have a
Thank
wonderful
you, sir. Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Hari Om,
Hari
sir.
Om. Thank you.
Hari Om.